Welcome to today's webinar. We appreciate you joining us today for the third in our series of 3 webinars around construction project management and building a connected solution. The first webinar we had was around how to and what's important when you're evaluating project management systems, solutions that are out there. What are the things that are that you need to look at as far as functionality, and then the companies or your way that you're looking at and performing your evaluation. The second was around around implementation and how the implementation flows, best practices around that. And then today's is going to focus on connectivity, what are common connection points, how important it is it important to build a connected project management solution? Is that critical to your success? As usual, if you've not attended the webinars before, this is a webinar platform that's got a lot of functionality and a lot of features along to it. It's gone through a few changes if you have been on On24 before. The screen right now is the engagement toolbox, and it will help you optimize your experience. In the upper right-hand corner, you can look to those buttons that will allow you to navigate throughout to different features and functions that are available to you in the webinar. If you have any problems, also please ask a question in the chat, and someone will be there to help give you support. Also, with these webinars, it's important to have safe harbor disclaimers that go into anything that any of the presenters make on this webinar are not future commitments of what we are going to do. We may speculate on things. We may talk about where the market is going. We may talk about where we want to go, but they are not any sort of commitment as to what we're doing, what we're working on, or what we're going to deliver to our customers or the industry at large. I think those are the safe harbor things. And now let's get on to the introductions and the panel of experts. We are joined today by a number of people that have been in the industry for a while and have a lot of expertise. And I'll turn it over to Chris to introduce himself, and you'll learn and meet your panel of experts today.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Chris Wetmore, principal within RSM's technology advisory practice. So been working in construction for 10, 15 years now, working with clients around sort of their technology architecture, spent a lot of time helping clients figure out what the best software is for them, as well as IT operating models and overall integration capabilities and architecture type things. So look forward to the webinar and appreciate everybody joining today. So Dave, I'll hand it to you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Dave Anderskow. I'm the president of Palmer Consulting Group. Been in the construction industry since 1995. Was CFO of a large general contractor in Chicago, Power Construction. And over my career, have used technology as my main tool to standardize processes and to help grow the company. Started Palmer in 2009 with a focus of people, processes, and technology. And we offer an array of services to help craft your roadmaps and help you execute to achieve your goals with anything from data, IT, implementations, optimizations, and business management. I'm going to hand it over to Gary.
Thanks, Dave. I'm Gary Stow. I was with Rivet prior to the acquisition by Trimble, now with Trimble Data Exchange. I head up the sales function. Apparently, I've been in the construction space so long, they only had black and white cameras back then. Tom, I'll send it over to you.
My name is Tom Brooks, and I am with Trimble. I manage all of our partners and channel relationships. I have been with Trimble for 19 years. I'm based in Northern California, and I have spent a majority of my career in the construction technology arena, and specifically at Trimble, started in construction project management and many of the ancillary systems that are out there. looking forward to what we're going to talk about today and some of the knowledge that we can bring to you. We call these thought leadership type of webinars, where we are trying to give you our thoughts and ideas. And when we go into a thought leadership webinar and we talk about what sort of panelists we want to bring together, we look at our array of partners and select those that have been in the industry for a long time. And Chris and Gary and Dave have all been in the industry for a long time and all have experience in best practices around construction technology in general, and specifically how to deliver projects that meet your customers' objectives and your objectives as well. So as we roll into the webinar and the discussion today, one of the things that we'd like to try and get a grounding on is if you're currently using a project management solution. And so we'll open up a question here, and I think you just are able to go and click on the box that you want for your answer and submit. And so we'll wait for a few minutes as we get more and more people answering these. We've got about 5% that have answered so far, so we'll encourage you to say whether you got a project management solution or not. But throughout my career, when I first started with Trimble 19 years ago, there were certainly a lot of project management systems that were out there, but not a lot of formal ones that were out there. And we had the luxury of selling Prolog, and at the end of a project, the project team would wrap up, and on the way out of off the site, they would toss the software and all of the associated hardware into the trash and move on to the next one and call us and say, hey, I need more software and I need to start another project, and we would start again. The process that was put in, processes were unique, and there was a lot of information that was lost. Over the years, with cloud construction, with cloud systems that are out there, we've been able to add a lot to the ability to take your processes and best practices across the industry and make those standards that you are repeating and repetitive over and over again. So let's see what we got. More than half of the people looks like responded, and we see that 25% still don't have project management software. 20%, 21% have got an out-of-box solution that they stay to. About half have got software that is designed for construction projects, and then 10% to have custom designed something for their company. And I think that this, we've got a number of people that are on the webinar today, but if we expanded this out to thousands, it would be about the same. And I think that these are kind of numbers that we see. Chris, is this what you see when you walk into a client's office? About a quarter of them don't have anything. Half of them have something that's designed specific for construction, and some use something out of the box.
Yeah, no, I think this is pretty spot on in terms of what we're seeing across the market space. I've been talking a lot with clients about what I'm calling the project management wars, or the construction management solution wars, where a lot of vendors are coming out with new solutions, AI enabled solutions. You're just seeing a huge trend towards these solutions, and moving away from sort of the out of the box solutions. You definitely have some legacy sort of custom built solutions, smaller, and I've seen a number of smaller clients sort of homegrown their smart sheet type tool, or Microsoft project type tool. But great to see sort of the close to 50% have sort of a design solution. But I would be interested to see if we ran this again in a few years. I bet those numbers are going to go way up because, like I said, the number of solutions in the market right now are really high, and the ones that are established are integrating some great things, and integrating it with others like we're going to talk about today. So I think this is fairly accurate, depending on obviously the size of the company as well. The larger organizations, you tend to have those construction management solutions, where smaller growing ones are start with something out of the box or something custom, and then you start to get to the point where people on the job site are looking to add something itself.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to call it commoditized, but I think project management solutions are becoming more commoditized. And you know, I look at it and there's a difference between project tracking, which is probably what some of the out-of-box solutions and people that are doing with Excel and things. When I look at project management, I talk about project management. I think about project managers to manage an outcome. I can only manage that if I'm looking forward as to what's happening and what I feel or forecast is going to happen. And the only way to do that is through technology. So when we talk about, you know, how to forecast and how to get that information, one of the real keys to doing that is making sure that your systems are fed and are feeding other systems up and down the line. And that is why when we talk about construction project management, it's so very important that those have connectivity to relevant systems that not only stakeholders within your organization are using, but your customer, your owner, and your subcontractor or your vendors are using it as well to be able to get visibility into what's going on, to be able to add data at the field level, so that you get that ability to forecast out. So, you know, when we talk about why you should connect your solutions, we see that 75% are stating that it's gives them the ability to have decision support and make those decisions in a rapid fashion. Nothing hurts a construction project more than analysis paralysis, and nothing can lead to that more than not having the data that's available. The rework issue is certainly has a lot to do with bad data and making decisions on bad data or data that's not available. And then the amount of money that gets wasted from lack of connectivity has been proven out to be, you know, $1.6 trillion, which is not an insignificant amount. And if we could get better with that and we could get more efficient with that, our customers can, the cost of construction can go down and our customers can be more profitable, and we can look to other initiatives to make our buildings better, to make them more green, to make them more multi-use or useful, and last longer, be more of a community asset as well. And I'll ask Dave, like, you know, as you go through and meet with customers about connections, what are some of the things and some of the discussions and objectives that customers have and some of the best practices that you guys bring?
Yeah, obviously that's a bigger than a breadbasket subject. I think that it's very timely because of all the different systems that are being introduced into the construction technology industry over the last handful of years. I think that there's that external view, with, you know, the stakeholders of a project. Who do you work with the architects, the subcontractors, general contractor, and of course the project owner. A lot of that is sharing the same information. How do you collaborate better? I think when you point to the waste, not having that connectivity where leads to a lot of duplication of effort, a lot of delay in getting the right data, the right documents to people so that they can do their job. And I think that then you have the internal view, which is more of the same, but with that internal focus that, you know, to what does the project manager and the project management team need to effectively manage that job, and looking at that life cycle from the time that the project is won to creating the budget, to managing the budget with RFIs and change orders, and then making sure that there's the latest and greatest set of drawings available to everybody on the team, both internally and externally. But then how does the project management intersect with the project controls and the financial aspects of managing the construction business itself? And then you have the growth of the different shared services, whether it's HR or pre-construction, that all have their different point solutions that they're using to manage their piece of the business. So, I would say the general objective is making sure that as you're looking at systems and tying them together, that people are trying to achieve getting the data in the right place at the right time. And I think that with looking at processes and making sure that the construction, all different stakeholders of the project and of the construction company understand how their world is changing and their use of that data is changing to do their jobs better.
Yeah, and I think that getting the right data to the right people at the right time is an important theme that I hear from a lot of my customers. I also hear that that it's from the right source as well. And Chris, I don't know, what do you think on that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Looked like I got muted for a second there. No, I mean, I think, piling on what David, was saying around some of the stuff, right, is, connecting your A, getting a solution, and B, connecting it, right, comes down to a lot around data. And I think traditionally people think and still think that having good visibility into data and transparency around data and reporting is key for good decision making. But I think what sometimes is lost is, the way the world is changing with artificial intelligence. If you don't have good data, right, and aren't collecting good data and integrating and moving data smoothly between systems, that is going to hurt you in 3-5 years as people build AI based solutions off of historical data. I've got a big GC that spent a lot of time really cleaning up their project management data in order to actually build some models in order to better predict sort of project management outcomes, risks, issues, right? And really sort of understand sort of project management. And then they can use that to actually predict where projects might be going off the rails and, get ahead of it, right? And sort of predict and say like, hey, do you need change orders, et cetera, et cetera. So like the quality of data that you can get by connecting your solutions and having solutions can pay dividends, especially when you get further down the line and you get high quality data. So really important from a why perspective.
Yeah, I remember, and I may have told this story on the last webinar, but it sometimes people say things to me that stick with me forever, and in a good way. And I was meeting with a customer, and they were doing a lot of building in the pharma industry and with a lot of biotech, and they collected everything. They kept every bit of data that was out there, and I said, they were telling me how many terabytes of data they had and what the data was and what the shape of the data was. And I said, how can you even use that? And they said, we can't right now, but someday we will be able to, and we'll be able to mine this stuff, and we will be so far ahead of our competitors because we'll have this data that's out there, and we'll be able to use it to our advantage, where our competitors will still be guessing at costs. We'll be able to understand what our costs historically have been and what factors have really gone into to making those different between projects that seem similar on the surface, but when you get down into it, they're vastly different from each other because they've got different performance or they've got different subs that were on there. We use different materials, and we can tell what the outcome is to that. So I think it does speak to the source, the connection, having the connected data, and being having that at your fingertips, even if you're not going to mine that. And so when we look at the industry from an industry's perspective of project management and connecting that, we want to really try and connect it from all the way back to the design and the very, very early design end of it. If you can capture all of those drawings on napkins and things like that, even better. And compare that to what is the outcome. So collecting that data across your design, your detail, your estimating, your prefabrication, and then utilizing that in the management of the project, capital M project management, like, managing your project that way, and using that out in the field, and then getting the feedback from the field to close that loop. And so, talking about connecting our project management is kind of funny. As we were waiting to start this, both Dave and Chris said this is going to be an easy one for us. We're not going to have to talk very much. Tom and Gary are going to take it on, and Gary's not said anything yet. But I'm going to bring Gary into the conversation here in a short minute. But we have another poll. So if your company uses multiple solutions to manage a typical construction project, so if you're using maybe even more than one project management system, but certainly a project management system, an ERP, you've got estimating solutions, you've got design systems that are out there from a number of different vendors. So have you connected those? And how deep are the connections if they have been connected? So Gary, as you are in the integration side, and welcome to Trimble for like 6 or 8 months that you've been since we acquired Rivet, but you've been in the industry for a number of years, and you've been around the integration side of it for a number of years. What do you see in the connections, and what's important for people to consider, and what makes connecting data so important from what you've heard in your experiences?
There's several factors, Tom. One, we know we're all dealing with a workforce shortage, right? So labor is hard to come by, even on the project management side. So what we've been able to work with customers at doing is eliminating non-value added tasks, re-entering information from one system to another, or doing an export and an import into another system. Those types of things are things that are error prone and are just time wasters. So we've been able to help a great number of clients eliminate that and allow their team to be more productive at managing the project. I want to go back to something that Dave said too about, we were just talking about your data and how important your data is. One of the biggest challenges that I see in speaking with customers is in specifically the trade partner, especially trade contractor market, where they're being forced to use their GC's project management system. And the challenge with that is, A, once that project's gone, you've lost that data. And B, if you end up in a situation with either a claim or you end up getting divorced from the GC, you've lost all your data because that general contractor controls it. And, it could be a general contractor, it could be an owner to a general contractor. But having your own solution in place, I can't emphasize enough how important it is. And don't forget to ask questions, folks.
Oh yeah, good point. The Q&A is there if you've got questions on what we're discussing. Interesting that the stats came out on the questionnaire that 90%, I think, if I'm reading it correctly and my math is on, a little over 90% have got connections that are that are at least connected, systems that are at least connected, and I would say that less than half of them connected properly leaves a lot of room for growth and connection. But it's good that you've got those connected, and I would say that even 5 years ago, we were seeing that organizations probably had one, maybe one connection, maybe two, but certainly not half of them having connectivity that's out there. And that's encouraging to see that, I think that everybody's endorsed the connectivity. And I think we're moving on from those standard connections of ERP to project management, passing invoices back and forth and things like that, and budget line items and things like estimating to project management. So you make that the ease of data entry there, that's just table stakes to an integration. It's the benefit and the value of connecting specific data work streams that are out there that make it really, really interesting and bring a lot of value to customers that I've been around. And so if you look at a typical workflow for RFIs and submittals, it's been pretty linear, and I would imagine a lot of you are doing a linear process. And Gary, you see a lot of linear. You walk into these linear processes all the time.
Yes, and Matt, I'm going to answer your question real quickly here. You should absolutely have your own project management system. That's the good news. The bad news is you probably still have to put information into your GCs or your owner's system. And this is an example of how we were able to address that issue and make it more palatable for a customer. I'm involved in a coalition called the Construction Progress Coalition. You can look them up at constructionprogresscoalition.org, I think. And one of the things that we're attacking is the waste and the over duplication of effort within various workflows. A couple years ago, we met and we attacked the RFI and submittal workflow. And I got to be honest, in my prior construction technology, it was not in the project management area. So this was really eye-opening for me because when we mapped all the things out that has to go on from owner to architect to GC, back to owner, back to architect, to trade partners, to purchasing, and all this other stuff. They get done with this board, and I'm like, I don't know how you people ever build anything. How does anything get accomplished in this dysfunctional workflow? So what came out of this is we took a 10-step plus process. I say plus because in workflow 6 there, in step 6, you've got collaboration possibly going back and forth. We took it from a entity, a stakeholder entering an RFI into, let's say, ProjectSight, adding the attachments, the links, downloading those, logging into what the other stakeholder was using, which was Procore, re-entering all that information, uploading the attachments and sending it off, waiting on an answer from that other stakeholder, finally get the answer back, log in, download the answer, get back into ProjectSight, re-enter the answer, and then send it out to the ultimate question, person asking the question. And by integrating 2 external systems, now this was a big deal, and it still is, because it was not us writing an integration between ProjectSight and Vista. It was writing a integration for 2 different companies collaborating on a project using 2 different systems. So if you'll go to the next slide for me, with what we call Construction Data Exchange, or CDX, you're able to live in your preferred system. In this case, it was ProjectSight, and your other stakeholder is able to live in their system of record, which is Procore. You enter all your information for RFIs and submittals in ProjectSight. The integration adds that new RFI or submittal over in Procore. You're able to collaborate on it and have a transfer of answers, comments, attachments, sync back into each system. So it took all those steps, 10 steps I think it was, and it turned it into 1 each. That is our vision, and I don't just mean the Rivet/data exchange vision. I mean it's Trimble's vision for truly connected construction, whether it's inside of Trimble or external. In times past, you would never have someone up here talking about connecting ProjectSight to Procore. And when we were first acquired by Trimble, there was a lot of raised eyebrows about us even mentioning the word Procore in a sentence. But this is what Trimble Construction One and really connected construction is about.
And I think as the partner guy, I've seen the evolution to where now we've got a partnership with Procore, and we're working on making that deeper. We're talking with others in the industry, with organizations that are out there that we've typically viewed as competitors to us, but we've got to cooperate, and because there are customers that are on both solutions, and they don't want a double entry, and they don't want to go and use every GC solution that's out there or every owner system that is out there, that they want to have their own data sets. And I think that this is the evolution of connected construction into an ecosystem. And
Betty, you're exactly right. It also has to do with accuracy. I'll tell a quick anecdote. We had a customer using ProjectSight, was using the owner system of Procore, and rather than the team operating in ProjectSight and re-entering in Procore, they just used Procore. Mom and dad got divorced, had a claim. They're stuck there holding nothing. They get cut out of the owner's system, and that's exactly why this integration exists, and Matt, why you need to have your own system. Betty is asking, does ProjectSight do the same as Procore? Why would we need both? Their primary functionality, I would say, is the same. There are definite differences between the two systems. And I would say you don't need both systems, especially if you're a trade contractor working with a GC using Procore. We're going to be on the verge of solving that for RFIs and submittals within the coming quarters. Does that answer your question, Betty?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
I was just going to chime in that I don't think that you need both systems, but that's the power of the integration that we're trying to demonstrate, is that as a GC working in, let's say you're working in ProjectSight, and your owner that you're working on, their construction management team uses Procore, that you can still work within your in ProjectSight and then have data flow to Procore. Or if you're a subcontractor, same thing. You can use your PM system of choice and then have that integrate into the GC's PM system of choice.
Yeah, and the reality of this is a simplified wheel, but you could have ProjectSight be there. Procore would be for in general contractor one. Procore could be in owner system as well. You could have Autodesk get the architect and design engineer. You could have ProjectSight in another specialty subcontractor that's out there. And so you could have a number of stakeholders that are there. And again, getting back to the right data at the right time from the right source is when specialty sub number one sends a question off that goes to general contractor Procore, and then maybe that general contractor sends it on to another organization or the owner for answer that is also using Procore. So now you see like there's even an integration from Procore to Procore, and then the answer comes down, it populates everybody's system, and it's and everybody has the right information as close to the source of the information as possible. So I think that there's that this is a simplified view, but the idea is you're able to buy the solutions and install the solutions that are right for your business and that are right for your business processes, so long as they have the ability to connect out. Is our advice anyway.
There's a couple more.
There's another. Go ahead, Gary. You can hit some of the questions.
So Kalapo was asking, what's the benefit of having ProjectSight over Procore? Who are you asking? The wrong people. In my opinion, ProjectSight is a very functional and cost-effective solution for project management. There are many bells and whistles within Procore that I feel only the most advanced companies truly take advantage of. And I'm not even talking like the top 100 GCs in ENR. I'm talking companies that take it to the nth degree. I think you can get exactly what you need out of ProjectSight and can transfer some savings to your bottom line. And it will connect better if you're using a Trimble ERP system, such as either Spectrum or Vista.
Yeah, I would add, yeah, I mean, obviously within the Trimble environment, ProjectSight works really, really well. It works with other ERPs as well. There are differences between, Procore and ProjectSight from a functionality perspective and, sort of a user experience perspective, along with, Autodesk or Buildertrend or Corcon. Like there's a whole host of solutions out there. Right. And if you go back to some of the earlier webinars in this, we talk about how to go about figuring out what the right one is for you and, sort of doing the right diligence around the different solutions. Right. Because people coming into the organizations that may have come from a Procore shop, believe me, they're going to want Procore. People who come from an Autodesk shop are going to want Autodesk. People who come from, there's a lot of preferences out there, as people sort of move between organizations, but you want to do your own diligence across, the different spectrums, understand the requirements, the capabilities, and the costs across all of those.
Yeah. Stacy, yours is an interesting scenario. I haven't heard very many architects using Procore. I would need you to reach out to me, Stacy, for me to talk to you about how customizing the CDX integration could be used between yourself and a GC using ProjectSight. I don't think I can answer that on this.
And Gary, just so you know, not everybody can see the question. So the question is the connection with Procore. Is the connection with Procore established now? We are the architect that uses Procore and the GC uses ProjectSight. What is required for the setup and transfer? And I think the short answer is yes, there is a connection that's set up now, but the devil is in the details of what you want to do as the architect and versus and that is kind of interesting that an architecture firm is using Procore. I like it. I mean, it's project management. You guys do projects, and no reason why you wouldn't, but you just don't hear about it all the time.
Yeah, Stacy.
There was also a go ahead.
I was just going to say, Stacy, it comes down to the desired behavior of the integration as to who's going to start the RFI, who's going to start the submittal. That's where it would need to be tweaked a little bit. And Michael asked, do I mean Turner, Bechtel, Halliburton, like that? Yes, that's what I meant.
When you were talking about the top?
Yeah, when I was talking about, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be like one of the larger general contractors. Some general contractors utilize every bit of Procore. I would say the majority of contractors scratch the surface at what Procore does.
Yeah.
You could say that with any system, right?
Yes.
You can say that with any system. You know, like I sold Prolog, and not a lot of people use 100% of that. They used a higher percentage of it because it didn't have we didn't have these wild features that were out there. But there is certainly a core of things that people are going to use that are out there. There's a question: what is the difference between Viewpoint Team and ProjectSight? And again, I think that you're asking the wrong folks on this one, but we can put you in. Yeah, we can put you in contact with who can answer. There are differences, though.
Oh yeah.
So we'll. I think we've hit the majority of the questions for right now, but we'll keep asking them. We'll take another pause and answer some more questions. But we were talking about connecting and the benefits of connecting, and that was one process, like RFIs. I see, people connecting invoices, and Gary, you see a lot of it that's out there. Invoices, just basic project information, like what is the address of this project and what is the scope, contract dates, schedule dates, things like that facilitate the ability to do cash flow forecasting, stuff like that. So there are a lot of opportunities to connect. And when you don't connect, there are a lot of risks that come along with that. So 16% of executives that were surveyed by KPMG say their organizations have fully integrated systems. 74% of contractors with multiple systems installed, they end up relying on one primary system to track key processes. I think that's you have one source of truth. It doesn't mean that things aren't entered someplace else. They just wind up as a source of truth, that where things are really looked at, and you want that to be as few number of systems as possible. And the nucleus then becomes like project management and ERP. That's where everyone goes when they want to. That's Mecca for information, right? That's financial information is in ERP, project information is in project management. If you don't have those connected, then you're going out to a host of different systems depending on what you're looking for. 91% of firms report using smartphones on a daily basis for work purposes, and 53% of large general contractors are using software to manage safety and or inspections, at least half of their projects. And I would say that those kind of go hand in hand a little bit, that people are using solutions in the field to do things like safety meetings and inspections and stuff like that. And the inspections are getting smarter, and the safety meetings are, and if I need to find out who's got the ability to drive a 3,000 pound rated forklift, I can go online, and if I've got the data, I should be able to get that on my smartphone. 91% of organizations are using smartphones on a daily basis for work purposes. That is the ability, you've got the ability to gather information right there at the source, which that is golden for the future, to be able to mine that data later on. But you need to connect it. I mean, Gary, Chris, Dave, any comments on those? Don't everyone jump in at once.
I think it exemplifies the power of the integration, right? I think construction companies empower their people to find solutions that work for them. And if you're a construction company that empowers your people to do that, then obviously you need some kind of integration so that the data flows and the processes get the data to the right place, to the right people. That it eliminates that duplication of effort, that there's not those data silos that are created. You don't want project management to be working with a different set of data than accounting and finance, and then to have to reconcile it and find that one's right or wrong. I think that my mind also goes to, as you're looking at connecting systems, is we talked a lot about data today, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring up processes and making sure that you're creating a data book and map out your processes and map out the data flow so that people understand, what the system of truth is and where it's going and how it's going to be utilized. So those are a few things that popped into my mind when I saw the slide.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there previously was a integration between ProjectSight and Vista. AppExchange, or my company, formerly known as Rivet, has rewritten that integration, and it was just released yesterday. So if you're a Vista user using ProjectSight, reach out to your account rep, or you can reach out to me if you want, and we'll get that on there. I want to answer another question from Michael Mortel. What kind of learning tools do you have for ProjectSight? I would like to improve my understanding of the software. So Michael, you can go to projectsight.com and click on training for general data. If you're a Trimble customer, you can go to your Trimble portal, your customer portal. And that would be an option at the bottom of the page.
And I think Stacy also put in a little bit more on the architects using Procore with the GC using ProjectSight, if I remember the original question. And this is the problem. What she had put in her question or comment here was the architects using Procore to keep internal records creates double entry on their part. They would love to discuss more. And that is the crux of it. Like when you get down to why do people integrate, you make sure you want to connect systems. That's like an emotional thing. Like, of course you want to connect systems out, but you justify the connections by fact. And what is the objective that is measurable that I can justify spending money on an integration? And that is got to do with people and process. And you're certainly going to be able to. I never ever say that solutions are going to replace people. They're going to repurpose people into better use of their time. It's a better use of somebody's time to not rekey in data in an RFI or an invoice or something like that and do something else that is more forward-looking and more on the management side. That is an opportunity cost that is direct and is attributable to the ability to do that. And so, that double entry, while it is the reason, the factual reason to justify doing something, really the subjective, having the data, being able to leverage the data, being able to do the capital M management of your project as a project manager and a project executive, and be able to do forecasting is going to give you so much value that then you're going to be able to measure out and to justify multiple times over having these solutions. I used to, when I first got into this industry, and we did not have 75% of the people or more than half the people have project management systems. I would talk to owners and I would say, how much do you spend on construction? And they would say, well, we're spending, on average, between 80 and $125 million a year. We're going through expansion. And then I would ask, do you have solutions specific to construction to manage your projects? Do you have bespoke systems that are on that? And they would say, no, we're just using our accounting system and in Excel, and we're not really thinking about, we're not a construction company, so what do we need a project management solution for? And I would say, if you were going to spend $120 million on something, and it was going to be spread out over 2 years, wouldn't you want a specific system to manage that? Would it be worth a little bit of money to manage that? That's not far off from being, a specialty subcontractor and being in a position to be able to connect data at this point. When you've got so much at stake, your profit margin, your or a general contractor for that matter, your thinner project margin than your subs have got, your customer experience, isn't it so important to have solutions that connect that it more than justifies the effort? I won't even call it expense. I'll call it effort, because connecting is way cheaper than it used to be towards that. And so as we go through, please put any additional questions in the Q&A, but we'll start to wrap it up, and I'll wrap up on that. But we'll do a little roundtable here. Chris, final comments, any other observations, things you want to make sure that you talk about?
Yeah, I think when you think about it, like I said, there's a lot of solutions out there, and the idea is data collection and that data flow through the systems for decision making is critical. The great thing is there's a lot of middleware, including Trimble's product here, that makes integration easier than it ever has before. And there's a lot of ROI doing it, especially if you think about it from a long-term perspective. So definitely look into it, look at the options, obviously look at your tool set, and then, and understand sort of, how that is going to impact sort of your data quality going forward.
Dave, question, any thoughts, any final things? And thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I think, I agree with Chris that the technology, the middleware, the connectors have come far in the last handful of years, and it makes integration much more powerful and easier to achieve. Don't forget that it comes with it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Make sure that you're taking the time to understand the impact to your processes, how people do their jobs, how they collaborate with external stakeholders, and make sure that you understand if there's any latency in the sharing of data, so that we fall into this trap of saying that it's real-time data. Make sure that you understand how often is the data being refreshed, so that you do know that you're working with the most current up-to-date data set.
My final thoughts on this, we talked a lot about connecting data. It's not just about data, it's about connecting work streams and making sure that your business processes are there. The experts are here to help you. The industry is moving rapidly, and you don't want to be left behind. But you also want to make sure that you're not on an edge of technology that is bleeding, because unless that's what you want to do. You want to engage, and you want to embrace the best practices that are out there. Certainly organizations like Trimble, like Procore, like Autodesk, like RSM, like Palmer Consulting, sorry Dave, like Gary, like myself. We are here to help you. We would love it if you engaged our individual firms. We would like it a lot if you just engaged. Because this is where this industry needs to go. This is where it's going, and we don't want to see anybody be left behind. The sooner that everybody can get their processes set, and Dave brought it up earlier, which is the data book. The data book is just not like a project that I identify as got a project name and an address and sort of, like a budget and the rest of the stuff. It is how that data flows, where it flows manually in your system. How do you go quote to cash? How do you get from estimate to collection? And what are the processes to that? A lot of them will be systems that can be very simply integrated together. A lot of them will be processes that need to integrate together. But it's important to look at it holistically so that you get to what your desired outcome is, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say almost everybody who's in the project management industry would say, first and foremost, I need more time to manage my projects and less time doing admin stuff and trying to find data to feed reports and to feed the machine. Have a great weekend. Go out and connect your data. Go out and evaluate systems. If you're putting one in, make sure your data books are up to speed, and get incremental improvements out there. We can do it. And thank you very much.